Welcome back to Mighty Habits, everyone. I'm Steven, and I'm really excited for today's deep dive. I'm joined by Mary, our expert guide. We're going to be exploring The Kite Runner, a captivating novel by Khaled Hosseini. It takes us back to 1970s Afghanistan, a time and place that might feel a world away for many of you.
It's amazing how this book resonates with readers globally, even though it's rooted in such a specific time and place. I think it's because the themes are so universal and tap into these human experiences we can all relate to.
You're right, it's been called an emotional story of betrayal and redemption. What makes a story truly emotional, Mary?
Well, stories that tap into universal human experiences always have that emotional pull, things like guilt, forgiveness, the complexities of friendship. The Kite Runner really magnifies those emotions, especially with its backdrop of political upheaval and cultural shifts in Afghanistan.
So those personal struggles become intertwined with these larger societal forces.
Exactly, and it really raises the stakes.
I see, that makes sense. And what's really interesting is how this book has been translated into so many languages. It clearly has a global impact. What do you think makes a story resonate with people from such diverse backgrounds?
I think it's the power of universal themes, those shared experiences that go beyond cultural boundaries. We might not have lived through life in 1970s Afghanistan, but we understand the sting of betrayal or the desire for forgiveness.
It's true. Even reading a brief synopsis of this book, I can sense how intense those emotions are. It really makes you think about how those themes of betrayal and redemption might show up in our own lives, too. Have you ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted?
Oh, absolutely. Betrayal is a really visceral experience. It makes you question everything you thought you knew about that person and even yourself.
It makes you reevaluate your own judgment, right?
Exactly.
And your capacity to trust.
It really does make you reflect.
It does. And thinking about redemption now, what steps can we take to heal those wounds, both for ourselves and those we might have hurt?
Well, that's exactly the journey the Kite Runner takes us on. It explores all these different facets of redemption. It's about acknowledging the harm caused, taking responsibility, but it's also about self-forgiveness, learning from our mistakes, and moving forward.
It's about moving forward with a renewed sense of purpose.
Exactly. It's not a straightforward path, but it's a journey worth taking.
It's not about erasing the past, it's about learning and growing from it. And that's what makes this deep dive so interesting. We're not just exploring a story, we're kind of exploring ourselves through this lens of the Kite Runner.
It's true. It's like holding a mirror up to our own experiences. As we get into the complexities of betrayal and redemption in the novel, we're also examining those themes in our own lives.
Yeah.
The Kite Runner gives us a space to think about the intricacies of human relationships and really our capacity for both harm and healing.
It's about those shared human experiences, no matter our background or circumstances. And speaking of which, The Kite Runner takes place in a very specific time and place, 1970s Afghanistan. Can you give us some insights into that setting, Mary? How does it influence the narrative?
Okay, so imagine Afghanistan in the 1970s. It's a society that's deeply rooted in tradition. There's a strong emphasis on family, honor, loyalty, but at the same time, it's a nation on the brink of change. It's grappling with modernization and global influences. So there's this clash between the old and the new, and that adds a whole layer of complexity to the story.
I see.
It mirrors the internal conflicts that a lot of the characters face, too.
It sounds like a real pressure cooker of emotions and experiences. Knowing that backdrop makes me even more curious to see how these characters deal with their personal challenges, especially amidst that historical turbulence. How do their individual stories connect to those broader themes of betrayal and redemption?
Well, that's where Hosseini's skill as a writer really shines. He really weaves those personal betrayals and acts of redemption together. With the larger political and social changes happening around the characters, it's like he's saying that our personal and political lives are totally intertwined. They each shape and influence the other.
That's a really profound insight. It's like these individual stories are giving us a glimpse into those bigger forces at play in society. It makes you wonder if our own personal struggles are reflections of the larger narrative of our times.
Exactly. The Kite Runner encourages us to look beyond those surface level events and really think about those deeper human stories that shape our world. As we go further, keep that connection in mind. How do the characters' personal journeys reflect the broader historical and social context? And how might their experiences shed light on our own lives and the times we're living in?
Wow, those are powerful questions to think about. I'm already feeling so much more connected to this story. It's amazing how one novel can spark such deep reflections.
Yeah.
What else can you tell us about the cultural backdrop, Mary?
Well, remember that tension we talked about between tradition and modernity? It's woven through the whole story. It influences the characters' relationships, their decisions, their struggles. It raises questions about identity. How do you hold on to your roots while embracing new ideas? That's something we still grapple with today, don't you think?
Absolutely. We're constantly trying to navigate that balance between tradition and innovation, even in our hyper-connected world. It sounds like the Kite Runner explores this challenge with real depth and sensitivity. I'm especially curious about the role of family in the novel. You mentioned family being a central value in Afghan culture. How does that play out in the story?
Oh, family is everything in the Kite Runner. It's the foundation of love, support, and identity. But it can also be a source of conflict, secrets, and even betrayal. The relationships between fathers and sons, brothers, friends are at the very heart of this story.
It's fascinating how family can be both a source of strength and pain at the same time.
Right. And Hosseini captures that duality so well. He shows us those beautiful complexities of family ties, how love and loyalty can be mixed with resentment and betrayal. It's messy and real and utterly captivating.
Definitely sounds like there's a lot of emotional depth to this story.
Yeah.
Are there any particular characters or relationships that stand out to you?
Well, the relationship between Amir, our narrator, and Hassan, his childhood friend and servant, is really central. Their bond is so intricate, full of unspoken truths and hidden resentments. The choices they make as young boys have consequences that impact their entire lives.
That's powerful. It's amazing how those childhood friendships can have such a deep impact on us, even years later. The people we grew up with shape us in ways we might not even realize at the time.
It's true. The Kite Runner reminds us that the past never really goes away. Our childhood experiences, the choices we make, the relationships we form, they all continue to influence us. It makes you wonder what Amir and Hassan's friendship really represents in the grand scheme of the story.
It does. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, on one level, their friendship represents the bigger societal divisions in Afghanistan. Amir comes from a wealthy, privileged background, while Hassan is from a marginalized ethnic group. Their bond shows how human connection can go beyond those social barriers. But it's also a reminder of the deep inequalities that exist in the world. Their friendship embodies both hope and a reflection of those societal realities.
I see. So their friendship is both a symbol of hope and a reflection of those harsh societal realities. It seems like Hosseini is exploring some really complex themes here.
Exactly. And it's through their relationship that he digs into those themes of guilt, redemption, and the search for forgiveness. Amir's betrayal of Hassan stays with him for years, and his journey to make amends becomes this driving force in the novel.
Wow. It sounds like Amir's character goes through a significant transformation throughout the story.
He does. When we first meet him, he's flawed, and, to be honest, kind of selfish. But through his experiences, he has to confront his own weaknesses and learn the importance of courage, compassion, and standing up for what's right.
So he goes through a real arc of personal growth.
Yeah.
It's amazing how literature lets us go on these journeys of self-discovery with the characters. We witness their struggles, their triumphs, their transformations, and we learn something about ourselves along the way.
Speaking of journeys, I'm curious about the significance of the title itself, The Kite Runner. What's the role of kite running in this story? Is it just a childhood game, or does it represent something deeper?
That's where Hosseini's brilliance as a writer really comes through. Kite running is so much more than just a game in this novel. It's a symbol of freedom, joy, and that fleeting nature of childhood. But it also embodies the complexities of Afghan society and that competition for power and status.
So the kites themselves become metaphors for the characters' dreams, hopes, and struggles. They're soaring through the Afghan sky.
Exactly. And the act of kite running, with all its intricate moves and battles, mirrors the larger conflicts happening in the story. It's a really visually stunning and emotionally resonant symbol. It adds so many layers of meaning to the novel. This is all so captivating. I'm already feeling a deeper connection to the story and its themes. Why do you think The Kite Runner has had such an impact on so many people around the world? What makes it so universally appealing?
I think it's the combination of the plot, the relatable characters, and the timeless themes. Even though the story is set in a specific time and place, the emotions it explores are universal. Love, loss, betrayal, redemption. Readers connect with the characters' struggles and triumphs, no matter their background.
It all goes back to that shared human experience. At its core, The Kite Runner is a story about the human condition, the choices we make, the consequences we face, and the power of hope and forgiveness. Those are themes that go beyond any cultural boundaries.
Exactly. And that's why this book has had such a lasting impact. It reminds us that even in the darkest of times, there's always the possibility of redemption. And it encourages us to embrace empathy, compassion, and human connection.
That's a beautiful message. As we continue our deep dive, I'm eager to see how these themes unfold and how the characters ultimately navigate all the complexities of life.
Me too, Stephen. There's so much more to uncover in this rich and rewarding novel. And I have a feeling the insights we gain from the Kite Runner will stay with us long after we finish this deep dive.
I completely agree. This is a story that can change how we see the world and ourselves. And I'm grateful to be on this journey of discovery with you and our listeners. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a moment to breathe and reflect on what we've learned so far. We'll be right back with more of our deep dive into the Kite Runner after a quick break.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Kite Runner. We're really starting to unravel those intricate layers of Khaled Hosseini's storytelling.
I know, right? I'm still processing all the emotion we've encountered so far. It's amazing how this novel transports you right into 1970s Afghanistan. We were just talking about how those historical and cultural forces have such an impact on the characters. As we go deeper, Mary, I'm struck by how Hosseini blends those personal journeys with this backdrop of political turmoil. It's as if these individual lives are just swept up in these huge currents of history.
You've hit on something crucial there, Stephen. The novel doesn't shy away from those complex historical events in Afghanistan. We see the Soviet invasion, the rise of the Taliban, and we really see the impact of war on individuals and entire communities.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a stark reminder that even amidst our own personal struggles, there are these larger forces at play that can change everything in an instant.
It makes you think about the resilience of the human spirit,
Yeah.
to go through that kind of hardship and still find ways to hope, to love, to seek redemption.
Exactly. And the Kite Runner portrays those themes so beautifully. Even when facing unimaginable suffering, you see this yearning for a better future, for healing, for reconciliation. It's heartbreaking, but also inspiring.
It really is. But for those of us who haven't experienced that kind of upheaval firsthand, how can we really connect with those emotions? How can we understand that sense of displacement and loss?
That's the power of storytelling, Stephen. Even if we haven't personally lived through war or political upheaval, we can still empathize with what the characters are going through. Think about it. We've all felt loss in our lives, right? The loss of a loved one, maybe losing a job, or even a sense of innocence. Those feelings are universal no matter where we come from.
It's that shared human experience that connects us to stories from all over the world. So even if we don't fully grasp the specifics of Afghanistan's history, we can still tap into the emotional core of the Kite Runner.
Right. And by connecting with those emotions, we gain a deeper understanding of the human cost of conflict and the incredible resilience of the human spirit. It reminds us that even in the darkest times, there's still hope.
It's a powerful message. As we delve deeper into the Kite Runner, I'm curious about how those themes of betrayal and redemption show up in the relationships within the story. Earlier, you mentioned the bond between Amir, the narrator, and Hassan, his childhood friend. Can you tell us more about their relationship?
Their friendship is really the emotional core of the novel. Amir, as we know, comes from a privileged background, while Hassan is the son of their Hazara servant. Their connection goes beyond those societal barriers, revealing a genuine bond, but it's definitely a complex relationship. Amir struggles with jealousy and insecurity, while Hassan is unwavering in his loyalty and devotion.
That sounds like a recipe for both connection and conflict.
Exactly. As the story unfolds, we see how those societal pressures and personal weaknesses can test even the strongest bonds. Their relationship becomes this kind of microcosm of the tensions within Afghanistan itself, those ethnic and social divisions simmering beneath the surface.
Given all those pressures, I can only imagine how intense the betrayal between them must be. What makes Amir's betrayal of Hassan so impactful?
It's impactful on a few levels, Stephen. First, it's a betrayal of their friendship, a violation of trust that really cuts deep. But it's also tied to those societal prejudices we were talking about. Amir's betrayal is partly because of those societal views that tell him he's better than Hassan. His actions show how insidious prejudice can be, how it can twist even the most innocent heart.
It's a reminder of how much those societal forces can influence our personal choices, even the ones we might regret later. I imagine this betrayal has a huge impact on both characters.
It does. It sets them on very different paths. Hassan, even though he's the victim, embodies resilience and loyalty. But Amir grapples with the guilt and shame of what he did, and that shapes his journey toward redemption.
So betrayal is this catalyst for their individual journeys, pushing them in different directions, but ultimately shaping their destinies. It's that complexity that makes the Kite Runner so powerful and thought-provoking.
You're right, Stephen. And it's worth noting that redemption itself takes on many forms throughout the novel. It's not a simple path. It's an exploration of forgiveness, self-acceptance, and having the courage to face our past mistakes.
So Hosseini is really making us think about the nature of redemption. Is it about seeking forgiveness from others, or is it more about finding peace within ourselves?
That's the question the Kite Runner asks. It doesn't give us easy answers. Instead, it encourages us to explore those different aspects of redemption. We see characters wrestling with their past actions, trying to find atonement in different ways. Some find comfort in helping others, while others have to confront their own inner demons. Ultimately, the novel suggests that redemption is a personal journey. It's often filled with challenges and setbacks.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
It's something we each have to figure out with courage, compassion, and a willingness to face our flaws. As we continue unpacking the Kite Runner, I'm interested to see how those themes of betrayal and redemption play out in the lives of other characters.
I'm excited to explore those nuances with you, Stephen. The beauty of the Kite Runner is that it shows all these interconnected lives, each one offering a different perspective on those universal themes.
I'm ready to uncover those connections. But before we journey further, let's pause for a moment and reflect on what we've discovered so far. Welcome back to Mighty Habits. We're still deep in the world of Khaled Hosseini's The Kite Runner. And I have to say, I'm finding myself more and more captivated with each layer we uncover.
It really is an immersive experience. You get drawn in and start to feel the weight of history, the complexities of the relationships, and of course, that yearning for redemption.
It definitely does that. We've been talking about the impact of betrayal and the different ways people seek redemption, but I keep finding myself coming back to that image of kite running. It just seems to symbolize so much more than a simple childhood game. Can we dig a little deeper into that, Mary?
Of course, Stephen. Remember those descriptions of kites soaring over Kabul? They really create this picture of freedom, joy, and that carefree spirit of youth. But kite running also shows us this fierce competition. It's a struggle for dominance that mirrors the conflicts we see in Afghan society as a whole.
So it's like the kites are more than just toys. They're like reflections of the characters' dreams, hopes, and all those inner struggles. They're all fighting for a place in the sky.
Exactly. And remember how the novel focuses on the rules and strategies of kite fighting. Those battles in the air become these metaphors for the power struggles happening on the ground. We see characters making alliances, betraying each other, and fighting for those hard-won victories. It's all a reflection of human relationships and that constant fight for power.
It's amazing how Hosseini can weave those symbolic layers together. It's visually stunning and emotionally resonant. It really adds another dimension to the story. Speaking of those complex relationships, we were talking earlier about the bond between Amir and Hassan. Are there other relationships in The Kite Runner that give us insights into those themes of betrayal and redemption?
Absolutely, Stephen. What about the relationship between Amir and his father, Baba? There's a lot of love there, but there's also this sense of unfulfilled expectations and resentment. Baba carries his own burdens of guilt and regret from a past betrayal that's haunted him for years.
That's interesting. It makes you wonder if we can ever truly find redemption for ourselves if we haven't dealt with those betrayals from the past.
That's a question that the Kite Runner really explores. Baba's journey suggests that true redemption involves facing those past mistakes head-on, seeking forgiveness and making things right. His attempts to atone for his past shape his relationship with Amir, leaving a legacy of love, but also unresolved conflict.
So it's about acknowledging the past as much as it is about trying to build a better future.
Exactly. The Kite Runner reminds us that the past is always there, shaping who we are and the choices we make. It echoes through generations.
And as we've seen, those personal journeys are often connected to larger events happening in society. It creates this intricate web of cause and effect. When we think about the historical context of the novel, we can't ignore how war and political upheaval impact the characters' lives. How does Hosseini convey those forces at work?
He does it masterfully. He doesn't hold back from showing the brutal realities of war, the displacement, the loss, the constant fear. We see how the Soviet invasion shatters Amir's childhood, forcing him and Baba to flee Kabul. And then later, the Taliban takes over, bringing a harsh and oppressive regime.
It's a reminder that even our personal triumphs and tragedies can be overshadowed by these huge historical events. It makes you think about how resilient the human spirit truly is.
But even amidst all that hardship, we see those glimmers of hope. We see acts of courage and that enduring power of human connection. The Kite Runner doesn't shy away from the darkness, But it also highlights those moments of grace and redemption, reminding us that even in the face of adversity, the human spirit finds a way.
It's a powerful message, one that goes beyond the specific story and speaks to something universal within us all. It makes you realize that even though we might not face the exact same challenges, those themes of loss, resilience, and the search for meaning are things we can all relate to.
You're right, Stephen. And that's why the Kite Runner continues to move readers around the world. It taps into those shared human experiences and makes us think about our own lives, our relationships, and the choices we make.
I couldn't agree more, Mary. This deep dive has been an incredible journey. It's been filled with so many meaningful reflections and thought-provoking insights. I feel like I've gained a deeper understanding of the Kite Runner itself, but also a new appreciation for the power of stories to connect us, challenge us, and inspire us.
I feel the same way, Stephen. The Kite Runner is a story that stays with you. It makes you reevaluate your values, your relationships, your place in the world. It's a testament to how powerful literature can be in illuminating the human condition.
And to our listeners, if you haven't read The Kite Runner yet, I highly recommend checking it out. It's a journey you won't soon forget. And if you've already read it, maybe this deep dive has given you some new insights or inspired you to go back and read it again with a fresh perspective.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Connect with us on social media and tell us about your experience with the Kite Runner. What parts stood out to you? What challenged you? Did it change how you see the world?
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe to Mighty Habits for more explorations of fascinating topics. We'll expand your knowledge, spark your curiosity, and empower you to live a more fulfilling life.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep those mighty habits going strong.
From all of us here at Mighty Habits, thank you for listening.